telephone. She's wearing solid gold. She's got a naked shoulder, so I let her know. I love her accent and what her words meant. I want a mental list of
what's your first consideration when making a record yourself? So that would be vocals. Can the person sing? Is he or she a good singer? Do they communicate? Do they connect? And that's basically it. If you can communicate and connect and you've got good songs, then there's something cool about you. How important is a room of choice? Very important. Possibly one of the most important things when recording drums and bands is a room. Go for a tight, small sound, or go for a big sound. The problem is we're going for a big sound, like the studio that we use in Texas, which is massive, is that in the first few days the drums sound enormous and everybody's high-fiving and freaking out because the drums are so good and they sound huge, but then you put loads of guitars on top of it and bass and vocals and you lose all the drums because the sound of the room's so big it gets a little bit washy, and what you really need is those kind of horrible pokey drums to cut through, more kind of thud. So sometimes you got to sample the drums and close mic them and sample those, and sometimes you got to put triggers underneath them. So the best thing to do is to not get carried away with, you know, that big room kind of excitement, and just kind of close the drums up a bit at one end of the room and then open the room up later, further down the room, so you can still keep that kind of dynamic, thuddy, transient-y drum sound, and then you got the room as well. Another thing I always do is try and put a PA in the room, just either side of the drum kit, and then we put kick and snare really loud through that PA. So if you're a room mic, if you're, say, a Coles mic in the room and you're kind of a slow ribbon mic, you're hearing the kick and snare as loud as the cymbals, because there's nothing worse than a room full of cymbals. So yeah, room's really important, and also for vibe as well. You know, it matters that the band are having a good time, that the band are excited and stimulated, and that's really, really important. Probably more important than anything, really. Does it matter what sequencer or hardware you use? No, I use Pro Tools. I love Pro Tools. I'm used to Pro Tools. Pro Tools is my thing. I guess I'm a Pro Tools expert. So that's what I use. I can be quick on it, and I just use it like a tape recorder. I love recording vocals into Pro Tools. But we've used Cubase before on the Matt P album, straight into Matt's old Dell laptop with Cubase, and sounded great, dumped it into tools later. So who cares? In fact, this is my big bugbear, but everybody gets concerned about, you know, what the media is, and the medium, is, you know, wow, it's recorded on tape, and wow, it's recording this and that. It doesn't matter. You know, loads of crappy songs were recorded on tape. You know, history is written by winners, so you only talk about the good stuff. And so I always say to bands who want to go into Abbey Road, and you know, it wasn't just the Beatles that recorded in Abbey Road. There's a lot of crap made in Abbey Road as well. It depends on how good you are, how good your band is, how good your song is. That's what matters. It doesn't matter what you record on or where you record. And it's such a simple rule, and lots of people tend to forget it and think it's all about the gear, and it's not. If you haven't got awesome microphones, is that game over? No, we recorded the Matthew P album using an SM7 and a 414 and a Royal 121. So I guess they're pretty awesome microphones, but they're all cheap. An SM7's about 300 quid, Royal's about 900 quid, and a 414 is about £1,000. So you've got three pretty basic microphones there, one ribbon, one super dynamic, and then one that's a bit more open, a condenser with different powder patterns on it. So 414 is really flexible. My opinion on click tracks are, I don't really have an opinion on click tracks. If a drummer wants to use a click track, that's great. If he wants to play it free, that's great, but the band better be good if you're going to play it free. Just in a session with a band called The Excerpts, and we didn't do any editing across any of the tracks, no beat detective in, nothing, just recorded straight down and live. It sounds amazing. What's your approach to getting a good drum sound with limited gear? Any tips? Yeah, a good, well-tuned drum kit will sound amazing with one mic. So if you go into a rehearsal room or a studio and your kit sounds good, it'll sound good. That's the main thing. So you best invest in 4 or 5 hours getting a drum kit sounding amazing. Tips for mixing and listening back, and volumes of mixing. I always listen back really loud when recording guitars. I like to have my big Genelecs in the studio, and I like to have them on loud. I think the guitarist can get a buzz from that, especially when doing rock music, heavier music like the Blackout and stuff. It's more instinct kind of playing rather than technical playing, although they'd argue it's quite technical, but it needs to be loud. And my ears kind of get drained by the end of the day. I wear earplugs, but one time it was so loud and I fell asleep while Bob from the Blackout was recording his guitars in the middle of a take. It was 3 in the morning, I was so tired, and it was the loudest I've ever known in the studio, and I still fell asleep. I was like, oh, yeah, sounds good. When mixing, it's best to kind of keep it one volume for a while, and mix kind of quietly. My friend Chenzo mixes through a little digital radio, so pretty quietly. My friend John mixes really quietly through NS10s. So my friend Craig mixes really quietly through his Mackie speakers. I'm not really known for my mixing, and I always end up turning it up too much. I'm too impatient, and I want to get to the end result and feel it. So I'm kind of the wrong person to ask about that. There's some really good mixers in the world, and one thing I've noticed is that the better they are, the quieter they mix. So that's probably why I mix really loud. Any tips on how to approach from DIY mastering? Yeah, I think little and often for me. I always start by putting a mix bus SSL compressor across the master, and have that just ticking away like I would on a normal SSL. And then you can go in and put a little bit of C4 in there, or a tiny bit of L2, L3, or a bit of inflator, and just keep them all ticking away. Nothing too harsh. I think that's the key, really, just little and often. There's a plugin called T-Rax, which is about 150 quid. It's quite a cheap plugin, and we used to call it the A&R Buster because it's amazing for just knocking these mixes out of the park and just making them sound fresh and loud and exciting, and for playing in record company meetings. It's not the most professional sounding piece of kit, but it really packs a punch, so I'd go out and buy T-Rax. Amazing. If you're looking for the complete microphone solution, is there something that does a bit of everything? Well, an SM7 for me is my favourite mic. A lot of the mixers hate it because it's hard to get a good sound out of in the end, but believe me, it's possible. And I've had lots of records on Radio 1 where all the vocals were recorded with SM7s, and it sounded fine to me. I've got a big posh vocal mic, and I really rarely use it. So, a £7,000 mic sitting in a case, and end up using a £300 mic that gets thrown around the room. It's got gaffer tape all around it. And, singers can stand up, they can be right on the grill, they can really kind of suck into it and breathe into it, and it's just a great mic for confidence, especially when you've got a loud vocalist, somebody who shouts. It's pretty noisy. You have to crank the mic pretty right up. So if you're doing kind of whispery, delicate stuff, it's not good for that. But for doing kind of noisy rock stuff, the SM7's an amazing mic. So I'd invest in one of those. An SM57 is an amazing microphone. 414 is an amazing microphone, good all-rounder. In fact, a great all-rounder. Doing great vocals with the 414. And then obviously, you got your old favourites, like a 47 or a 67. And a 251 is probably my favourite mic. Crystal clear, beautiful top end, really musical, really smooth top end, not brittle in any way. You don't need any EQ. Just put that 251 into a Neve 73, straight into an 1176, then straight into an LA2A with a tiny little bit of movement on the needle, and straight into Pro Tools, and that's possibly the best vocal sound you'll ever get. But again, it's horses for courses. Depends on the song, depends on the singer, and depends on how loud they are. What's the biggest mistake you can make when recording? I guess the biggest mistake I ever made was over EQing to tape, and I never do that anymore. So just take some mid-rangey stuff out of toms, and that's about it. I've had a few phase mishaps where things have been phased in out of phase, and you're certain that the guitars are in phase, using a Roy 121 and a 57, and you've got to try and get the those points matching. And it comes to mixing, and it turns out they're just out of phase, but not exactly out of phase, and it's just kind of that grey area in between, and you're losing all the bottom end, and it just sounds a bit loose and woofy and horrible. So always check your phase all the time. Always check your tuning. I think tuning's the biggest bugbear of any recording session. So I have one tuner, the same tuner, my Peterson, set up the whole time. No one's allowed to use any of the tuners. You've all got to use the same tuner. And everybody gets annoyed, but tuning's so important. And finally, your ultimate top tip: get the song right. You'd have to be a genius to make a good song sound bad, and you really would. If the Proclaimers came and stood in the studio now and played I Would Walk 500 Miles, it would sound amazing. Everybody loves that song. If Queen came in the studio and played We Will Rock You, it would sound amazing. If Nirvana came in the studio with 3 mics and played Smells Like Teen Spirit, it would sound amazing. If you get the song right, they'll sound amazing. Simon and Garfunkel, acoustic guitar and a vocal, it sounds amazing. So that's the most important thing. And that sounds really obvious, but if the song's rubbish, who cares what your microphone is? Who cares what the room's like? Who cares what your sequencer is? All this stuff doesn't matter. What matters is a song right? Does it connect? Is it a punk rock song? Does it get you in the heart? Is it a love song? Does it make you want to cry? Does it make you want to, do that to your teacher? Does it make you want to do that? Smash your bedroom up? Does it make you want to headbang? Does it make you want to hug your parents? Does it make you want to have sex with your partner? Does it make you want to, kiss your dog? Does it make you want to run up the stairs like Rocky? Does it make you want to fall asleep? Does it make you feel calm? What does it do? What's it trying to connect? Does it make you want to take over the world and change the world? And it's those connections that are important, and all this digital gear just gets in the way of that. So one thing I did say to an engineer I was having an argument with about a guitar sound the other day, and he's talking about listening, and I'm saying, but you're listening with your ears. You need to be listening with your heart, because that's what music is. Your ears are just a gateway to your heart, and that sounds kind of corny, but don't forget that, because that's the most important thing, if you ask me. Right, I'm going to get some breakfast, have a shave, and go do some pre-production with the band and get the song right. See you later.